The Graveyard of the Atlantic Museum is named for the thousands of ships that wrecked off of the coast of North Carolina. These shipwrecks have created an amazing opportunity to dive on some beautiful sites off of our coast. Now, the state of North Carolina has worked really hard to document all of these sites so that the world can really appreciate and learn from all of the ships and sites that have and the history that is off of our coast. Now, what our activity today is going to work with is actually discussing diving on some of the less ideal sites that are not in the crystal clear water. Some of these sites that we have here in North Carolina are in very muggy water that make it very difficult, if not impossible, to really see what you're working with. And it's important to document all the sites, not just the pretty ones in the ideal setting. So this activity is called Dark Water Dive because it's going to simulate, to an extent, as much as we can on land, the practice of diving on a site where you can't see what you're working with, but you still need to document it. Now, the materials that you were asked to get were about a dozen or so small items that would be that would represent the artifacts on our simulated wreck site. Something to cover your eyes, like a bandana. What I use when I do this activity in the museum is a pair of goggles that have been taped out so that you really can't see anything while you're down on the wreck site. Some paper and pencil. Now, a regular piece of paper works just fine. You can see here just a clear piece of paper, but graph paper sometimes works better. Depends how in depth and in detail you want, because what they're going to be doing with this paper and pencil is actually documenting what's on the wreck site. So it's up to you how detailed you want them to get, so which type of paper they might use. I also asked you to get a rope, and what you're going to see is I have my simulated wreck site set up here behind me right now. Now, the rope is going to be run down the middle of the wreck site. Now, this is going to help your divers navigate the wreck site as they go through, so they don't get too far off of the wreck site at any point. And also, it's going to be something where on the paper they can draw that line straight down the middle, and it'll help them kind of orient as they draw their artifacts or what they're finding at the wreck site into the paper. So what they're actually going to be doing is you don't want your participants to ever actually see the wreck site, because what they'll do is they're going to put on the goggles or whatever you have to cover their eyes, a bandana, a mask. We hear jokes about students already putting their masks over their eyes, so embrace it, I guess. But cover their eyes, and they're going to go into the dive into the wreck site, feel around, see what they can find, and then they're going to come back up to the surface, put their backs to the wreck site. You'll help them orient so their backs are to the wreck site, and then take that paper and pencil and draw out what they felt. Then they can dive back down. You have two directions here. You can either let them dive as many times as they want and stay under as long as they want. Personally, I tend to add a little bit of excitement and drama to the activity by saying you can only stay down for 30 seconds because your air will run out, or you can only dive so many times. That also has to do with the fact that I usually have 20 kids that I'm trying to move through this activity. So that's up to you if you want to add a time limit or if you want to let them just keep going as much as you want. Another extension on this you can do is you can purposely pick artifacts that might be specific to a wreck site in a way. For example, you can get like fishing pole, fishing bait, a net, and put it out there, and then ask the student or the participant to determine, based on what artifacts they found and identified, determine things about the shipwreck, such as what was its function, maybe how did it wreck. And really, you can get a lot more into detail with this. If you want to be tailoring it to a specific wreck site off of our coast, I definitely recommend exploring some of the state websites. Underwater Archaeology Branch is a good one, Graveyard of the Atlantic. You can contact the staff there as well, and they can give you a few details about the different artifacts that have been found or would be associated with different types of shipwrecks, such as rum runners or fishing ships or cargo ships. I know that they have a shipwreck that actually wrecked off of Hatteras that had bags of Doritos in them. So that might be a fun one to imitate and throw out here with your wreck site of bags of Doritos. I also like to throw in some wildlife, like there, you can't quite see it, but that's a crab out there. to remind them they are in the water. So there, you wouldn't find only the artifacts, you're still going to find wildlife and such. I hope you enjoy this activity and that you come to see us when we do reopen. Have a great day and salutations.